The note was on a yellow post-it, stuck to the door of the refrigerator at eye level, written in my daughter-in-law Marisol's careful round handwriting. Not for you. Underneath, in smaller letters, hands off, Eleanor, M. The note was stuck to a glass casserole dish wrapped in foil that I could see. Through the gap where the foil had pulled loose was a lasagna. Marisol's lasagna. The one she made with the ricotta her sister sent from a market in San Diego. The one I had complimented in 2021, the first time she brought it to a family dinner, and which she had not made for me since. I was standing in my own kitchen. The kitchen of the house my late husband Augustin and I had bought in 1979, the small split level on Holloway Street that we had renovated together over 31 summers, where Augustin had built the breakfast nook with his own hands in 1986, and where I had been making coffee at the same drip machine for 19 years. It was 6:47 a.m. on a Wednesday in late October. I had come downstairs in my robe to make my coffee, the way I had been making my coffee at 6:47 a.m. on Wednesdays since 2009, and I had been intercepted by a yellow post-it. I stood in front of the refrigerator for a long moment. Then I read the note again. Not for you. Hands off, Eleanor. M. I looked at the rest of the fridge. There were 3 other post-its I had not seen before. They had been added sometime overnight, while I was sleeping in the bedroom upstairs, that had been mine for 46 years. The second post-it, on a Tupperware container of pasta salad, mine. The third post-it, on a plastic bag of grapes, don't. The fourth post-it, on a small bottle of organic apple juice, kids only. I did not move. The kids in question were my grandchildren, Bennett and Cosette, ages 8 and 5, who had been living in my house with their parents, Theodore and Marisol, since June. Theodore was my son. Theodore had moved his family into my house for a few months in early summer because, as he had put it on the phone in May, Mom, the rental we lined up fell through, and Marisol and I just need a soft place to land while we figure out the next step. I had said yes. I had said yes, the way mothers say yes, in the brief moment between the question being asked and the question being understood. That had been 4 months and 17 days ago. In 4 months and 17 days, Theodore and Marisol had not paid me any rent. They had not contributed to the utility bills. They had not bought groceries except for the kind of groceries they wanted that I did not stock Marisol's specific brand of cold-pressed juice, Theodore's IPA he ordered by the case, the apple juice on which there was now a yellow post-it that said kids only. I made my coffee. I made it slowly. I did not remove any of the post-its. I poured the coffee into the chipped mug Augustine had bought me in Maine in 1997. I added cream. I sat at the breakfast nook. Augustine had built me in 1986, and I drank my coffee while looking at the refrigerator in my own kitchen, on which my daughter-in-law had labelled 4 food items with the small, careful handwriting of a woman who had begun to think of my house as territory. When I had finished my coffee, I rinsed the cup. I set it in the dish rack. I went back upstairs. I got dressed. A navy cardigan, grey slacks, the small pearl earrings Augustine had given me on our 30th anniversary. I came back downstairs. I picked up the phone. I called my realtor. Her name was Adrienne Calloway. She had been Augustine's friend before she had been my realtor. They had served on the neighborhood association together in the 1990s, and she had cried at his funeral in a way that had told me she had loved him quietly and, at a distance, the way good friends sometimes love each other. She had sold 3 houses on Holloway Street since 2001. She had been waiting, I would later learn, for me to call her for 2 years. She picked up on the 3rd ring. Eleanor. Adrienne, I'd like to list the house. A small pause. Eleanor, the Holloway house. Yes. When? Today. Quietly. No yard sign until Friday. I want a CMA on my desk by tomorrow afternoon and a private showing scheduled for Saturday. Eleanor, tell me what happened. Adrienne, My daughter-in-law put a post-it on my refrigerator this morning that said, "Not for you." The post-it was on her lasagna. There were 3 other post-its on 3 other food items. They had been added overnight. They were in my house, the house Augustine and I bought in 1979. A long silence on the line. Then Adrian said very quietly, "Eleanor." "Yes." "Augustine told me, in 2014, that if you ever called me to list the Holloway house, I should not ask questions. I should just file. He said, the day you called would be the day something had become unbearable, that had been bearable the day before. He said, women like you do not call about a yard sign for trivial reasons." I closed my eyes. "He told you that?" "He did, Eleanor. I have been waiting 11 years. Adrian. "Yes." "File." "Filing now." I hung up. I went back into the kitchen. I looked at the 4 post-its on my refrigerator. I did not remove them. I sat down at the breakfast nook with my second cup of coffee. I opened my phone. I scrolled through the photos I had taken over the past 4 months. Without realizing, I had been taking them small images, captured in moments of small confusion, that I had stored without titling. A photograph from July of my bathroom, taken because Marisol had moved my hairbrush off the counter and into a drawer marked Eleanor guest items. A photograph from August of my linen closet, taken because Marisol had reorganized it into bins labeled kids and parents, and one small bin in the back corner labeled Eleanor. A photograph from September of my own bedroom closet, taken because Marisol had, without asking, donated 3 of my older sweaters to her church's clothing drive, and had told me about it afterward, as if it were a favor she had done me. A photograph from October last week of the small message board in the mudroom, which Marisol had repurposed into a family schedule board, and on which my own name appeared only under the column babysitting availability. I had taken these photographs the way a woman takes photographs of small confusions when she is not yet ready to call them what they are. This morning the photographs had a name. The name was evidence. I called my lawyer at 9 a.m. Her name was Beatrix Halloran. She had drafted my will after Augustine died, and she had been waiting for me, like everyone else apparently, for years. Eleanor. Beatrix. I am evicting my son and his family. I need the paperwork drafted by tomorrow. Eleanor, tell me what they signed when they moved in. They signed nothing. There is no lease. There is no rent. They have been here 4 months and 17 days. They told me it was for a few months. They have not made any plans to leave. Then it is a tenancy at sufferance. 30-day notice by certified mail. After 30 days, if they have not vacated, we file unlawful detainer. The eviction will be granted in 60 to 90 days. 30 days. 30 days, Eleanor. I will have the notice in the certified mail queue by 9 a.m. tomorrow. I assume you want this delivered with maximum formality. Maximum formality, Beatrix. The certified mail, the official letterhead, copies to my son and to Marisol individually, not as a couple. I do not want them to be able to say later that one of them did not see it. Eleanor. Yes. Augustine told me, in 2013, that if Theodore ever moved back in, I should give him 8 weeks. He said, if 8 weeks went by without a plan to leave, I should expect a call from you. He said you would call when you were ready. He said you might take longer than you should. Beatrix. Yes. How much longer than I should have taken, in your professional opinion? Eleanor. You should have called me in week 9. You are calling me in week 18. So you took 10 weeks longer than Augustine estimated. Beatrix. Yes. Augustine estimated 8 weeks. He did, Eleanor. He had been observing his son and daughter-in-law since 2008. He had been quietly watching the way they treated his wife at family events. He told me he gave them 8 weeks before the labels started appearing. He used the word labels. I did not understand what he meant at the time. I understand now. I closed my eyes. Beatrix. Yes. What does labels mean? Eleanor. Augustine told me, and I am quoting because I wrote it down at the time. Marisol is the kind of woman who, once she feels comfortable in a house, will begin labeling its contents. First the food, then the rooms, then the schedule, then the people. When the labels appear on the food, my wife will call you. I am giving her permission, in advance, to do whatever needs doing at that point. I sat very still at the breakfast nook. Beatrix. Yes. Augustin watched her in 2008. He watched her for 6 years, Eleanor. Before he died, he had built a small portfolio of observations. He gave it to me in a sealed envelope in 2013. The envelope is in my office safe. I have never opened it. He told me to keep it sealed unless and until you called. He said, if you never called, I should burn it on the day I retired. I did not speak for a long moment. Then I said, Beatrix, open the envelope tonight. Bring it to my house tomorrow morning. We are going to read it together. Eleanor, I will be there at 9 a.m. Theodore came downstairs at 7:22 a.m. on Thursday morning. He was in a t-shirt and pajama pants. He was 48 years old. He had not shaved. He had the careful, guilty face he had been wearing intermittently for 4 months and 17 days. The face of a man who was aware that something was not quite right in the house he had moved his family into, but who had not yet permitted himself to think about it directly. He saw me at the breakfast nook. He saw the 4 post-its on the refrigerator behind me. He paused. Mom, those post-its. Marisol said she was going to clean those off. Theodore. Yes. Sit down. He sat. Theodore. The certified letter will arrive today. Probably this afternoon. It will be a 30-day notice to vacate this property. I am evicting you, Marisol, Bennett, and Cosette. You will have 30 days from today to find a new place to live. I will not contribute to that place. I will not co-sign your lease. I will not pay your security deposit. I have already spoken with Beatrix Halloran. The paperwork is in the certified mail queue. He went pale. Mom, this is about the post-its, isn't it? The post-its are nothing. Marisol was just. She gets territorial about the lasagna because she puts a lot of work into. Theodore. Yes. This is not about the post-its. The post-its are a symptom. The post-its are simply the symptom that was visible enough that I could no longer ignore it. There have been symptoms for 4 months and 17 days. I have a folder of photographs on my phone. I have 11 of them. The post-its are number 12. 12 is the number, Theodore, at which I called Adrienne Calloway. I called her at 6:54 yesterday. You called Adrienne? Yes. The house is listed, private showing Saturday. The yard sign goes up Friday. He put his head in his hands. Mom, this is our home. Theodore, this is my home. It was not your home when you were 35 and you had your own apartment in Tacoma. It was not your home when you were 40 and you lived in the duplex in Beaverton. It is not your home now. It has been your residence for 4 months and 17 days. There is a difference. He was crying, quietly. The way a 48-year-old man cries when he has just understood, for the first time, that the safety net under him has chosen to remove itself. Mum, what about the kids? Theodore. The kids will live in a smaller apartment. They will sleep in a smaller bedroom. They will eat the same cereal in a different kitchen. They will be fine. They will be more than fine. They will be raised by parents who are operating at the level of their own competence rather than at the level of mine. That is a gift. You may not be able to see it as a gift today. You will see it as a gift in approximately 5 years. He did not respond for a long moment. Then he said, very quietly, Mom, Dad would have done this 2 months ago. I closed my eyes. Theodore. Yes. Dad watched Marisol for 6 years before he died. He told Beatrix Halloran, in 2013, that she would label the food within 8 weeks of moving in. The post-its appeared at week 18, not week 8, so she lasted longer than your father estimated. Whether that is a credit to her or to my own slowness is something we can discuss another day. He looked up at me. Dad, observed her. He did, Theodore, quietly. He took notes. Beatrix has the envelope. I am going to read it tomorrow morning. You will not be reading it. Some envelopes are not for sons. Some envelopes are for wives who married widowers and lived to keep being widowed by them. He nodded slowly. He wiped his face. Mum, will Marisol be allowed to come back? Theodore, your wife will not be in this house again until I have died, at which point the house will not exist as I knew it anyway, because it will have already been sold. So no. Marisol will not be allowed to come back. You may visit me alone on the first Sunday of every month, beginning 2 months after you have moved out. The first Sunday of January, noon, I will cook. We will not discuss money. We will discuss whatever you want to discuss. The children may visit me whenever they are old enough to ask without your permission. Bennett will be old enough at about 13. Cosette will be old enough at about 11. Until then, I will see them only at neutral locations with you present. Mum. Theodore, the conversation is over for this morning. Go upstairs. Tell your wife to come down. I would like to have the same conversation with her in slightly different words. After that, you may begin packing. He stood up. He walked out of the kitchen. I sat at the breakfast nook. I poured myself another cup of coffee. I waited. Marisol came downstairs at 7:48 a.m. She was in workout clothes, pale lavender leggings, a cream sports bra, a long oversized cardigan she had clearly grabbed from the chair in the bedroom on her way out. Her hair was in a messy bun. She was carrying her phone. She did not sit down. She stood at the entrance to the kitchen, and she said, in the bright voice she used, for things she had decided in advance were not going to upset her. Eleanor, Theo says you're being that you've made some kind of decision. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we sit down and talk? Marisol, yes? Sit down, please. She sat. I looked at her across the breakfast nook. Augustine had built me in 1986. Marisol, I want to be clear with you, because I owe you the clarity. I am not angry with you. I am not even particularly disappointed. I have come to understand, over the last 4 months and 17 days, that you are exactly who you have always been, and that the only person who is responsible for the confusion in my house is me, for failing to read what was in plain view. You moved into my home in June. You introduced yourself to the kitchen first. By July, you had reorganized my bathroom. By August, you had relabeled my linen closet. By September, you had donated my sweaters to your church. By October, you had taken over the mudroom message board and put my name under babysitting availability. This morning, you put a post-it on my refrigerator that said, "Not for you," in front of food you had brought into my house and stored in my appliance. I want you to understand something, Marisol. You did not do anything to me that was not, in your own internal logic, perfectly consistent. You are a woman who, when she enters a house, begins to consider that house her territory, and who manages that territory by labeling it. That is how you organize the world. I am not asking you to change. I am informing you that I will no longer be a piece of territory you organize. She had begun to cry. I noted that her tears were faster than I had expected. I also noted that she did not interrupt, which I appreciated. The certified letter will arrive today. You have 30 days. I will not negotiate the 30 days. I will not extend them. If you have not vacated by the 30th day, I will file for unlawful detainer through Beatrix Halloran's office. The eviction will be granted by the county within 60 to 90 days after that. I prefer that we do not arrive at that point. 30 days is enough time to find an apartment. You will not be in this house again, not for visits, not for holidays, not to pick up your children from a Sunday visit, because the Sunday visits will not include you. Theodore and I will see each other one Sunday a month, alone. The children will see me, as I described to Theodore upstairs. You and I are not going to have a relationship after the 30 days conclude. I am not punishing you. I am simply withdrawing from a relationship that has cost me too much already. You may apologize, if you would like. I will not require it. I will not respond to it. An apology from you would be a piece of language. I am not interested in language anymore. I am interested in 30 days. She was crying harder now. Eleanor, Eleanor, I am so sorry. Marisol. Yes. That apology is in the wrong order. I am not interested. You may save it for the next woman whose kitchen you move into. Perhaps she will be persuaded by it. I have moved past the point at which I am persuadable. I stood up. I rinsed my coffee cup. I set it in the dish rack. I am going for a walk. When I return, the post-its will no longer be on my refrigerator. You may dispose of the lasagna. You may keep the grapes. You may take the apple juice. You may take whatever you want from this kitchen, with one exception, the Tupperware container with the pasta salad that is mine. I made it. Augustine and I bought it in 1986. Read the labels more carefully next time. I picked up my coat. I walked out my own front door. I went for a walk. The yard sign went up on Friday at 11 a.m. I was in the kitchen when Adrian pulled into the driveway. I watched her through the window. She had the small, careful stride of a woman who had been doing this for 30 years, and who knew how to install a sign in a yard without making a scene. She placed it at the front of the lawn. For sale, Adrian Callaway, Callaway Realty. By appointment. She did not knock. She did not come up to the house. She got back in her car and drove away. I watched the sign from the window. It was small and tasteful, and slightly tilted in the way that yard signs always tilt in lawns that have been mowed too recently. Behind me, in the dining room, Marisol was packing kitchen items into cardboard boxes. She had not spoken to me since Thursday morning. Theodore had been on the phone with apartment listings for 2 days. Bennett and Cosette had been told they were moving to a new house. Isn't that exciting? Which was the phrase Marisol had selected. And the children had accepted it. With the trusting acceptance of children whose parents are very good at presenting decisions as adventures. I watched the yard sign for a long time. Then I went into my study, and I sat down at Augustine's desk, and I called Beatrix. Beatrix. Eleanor, did you bring the envelope this morning? I did. I have not opened it. It is in my briefcase. Come over now. She came over at 11:34 a. She brought the envelope. We sat at the dining room table. Marisol had paused her packing and gone upstairs, sensing perhaps that whatever was about to happen was not for her to witness, and Beatrix slid the envelope across the table to me. I opened it. Inside were 11 sheets of paper, Augustine's handwriting on each of them, dated, beginning in 2008 and ending in 2014, the year before he died. Each sheet was a small observation. The day Marisol had first eaten Sunday dinner with us and had quietly rearranged the place settings before we sat down. The day Marisol had described my kitchen at a backyard barbecue as Eleanor's kitchen, which is so cute it's like a museum. The day Marisol had brought her own cutting board to my house, because yours is a little warped, Eleanor. The day Marisol had referred to Theodore's bedroom, the one he had grown up in as your old room, which we should really turn into a guest space. The last sheet, dated 3 weeks before Augustine's death, read, Eleanor, I am sorry I did not tell you what I was seeing. I knew if I told you, you would either rush to defend her or rush to hate her, and both would have been your love for Theodore turning against itself. I wanted you to see her on your own timeline, when you were ready. If you are reading this, you are ready. Beatrix has been instructed in everything. Adrian has been instructed. Felix Ramos at the contracting firm has been instructed. So have the realtors, the lawyers, the accountant, and Father Domingo. I built you a small private army. It has been waiting. I love you. Sell the house. Buy something small. Sit in a chair. A. I read the page twice. I did not cry. I handed the page to Beatrix. She read it. She set it down very carefully on the dining room table. Eleanor, Yes. Augustin was the most prepared man I have ever known. Beatrix. Yes. Augustin was the most patient man you have ever known. There is a difference. There is. We sat at the dining room table for a long time. The sun moved across the floor. Upstairs, Marisol was crying quietly into a pillow. Outside, the yard sign stood at its small, tilted angle in the front lawn. I drank my coffee. Beatrix drank her tea. After a while, she stood up. Eleanor, I will be in touch about the closing. Adrian will handle the showing on Saturday. The certified letter has been delivered. I confirmed the signature this morning. 30 days runs from yesterday. Beatrix. Yes. Will you have dinner with me on the day they leave? Eleanor, I will. Pick the place. I am buying. Not Calloway's. She laughed. Not Calloway's. That night, I sat in Augustin's reading chair in the living room. The chair had been packed earlier in the day, then unpacked, when I realized I wanted to sit in it one more time in this house before the chair, and I both moved to the small condo I had not yet purchased, but already knew the shape of, in my mind, a two-bedroom near the river with a small balcony where the only labels would be the ones I wrote on the spines of my own books. I had the small notebook I had started keeping. The morning the post-its appeared, and I wrote one line. She wrote, "Not for you" on the fridge. I wrote, "For sale" on the yard sign, and I learned at 71 that my husband had been protecting me for the last 7 years of his life by building me an army I did not know existed, and that the army had been waiting 11 years for me to give the order. Then I closed the notebook, and I drank my tea, and I slept the way a woman sleeps when she has finally given the order, and the army has finally moved.